It's sad in a way, all the drama that's going on with Man United. There's been so much controversy surrounding it over the past few weeks, and this video is just to really go over everything that's gone on really over the past few weeks because I can't personally recall a time in history when so much controversy has surrounded one club. It's staggering the amount of things that are actually happening around the team at the moment. This is just going to go through some of the information, the list of things that have actually gone on. It's definitely been a chaotic few weeks for the club. We're not going to talk about the takeover. That's going to be a separate video. There's so much to dive into with that one that it's just impossible to do it all with all this other stuff that's going on. But I just can't think of a time when so much stuff has happened in such a short space of time. And it's sad in a way because we should focus on the football. That should be the main focus of everything. But all the stuff going on behind the scenes, all the drama, all the chaos, we don't like it. We don't want to see it. It's not something that should creep into this thing that we call football. And sadly for Man United at the moment, it is. It seems like there's a new story every other week. First and foremost, the Jadon Sancho one. So Man United lost 3-1 to Arsenal last weekend, thanks to two late goals, one from Declan Rice, one from Gabriel Jesus. And we had Ten Hag come out and say, Jadon Sancho, he didn't travel for us for the game due to his attitude in training, said he wasn't ready, he wasn't training well, and he didn't make the squad whatsoever, didn't make the journey up to the Emirates. Only for Sancho after the game to then tweet out and say, look, don't believe everything you read online. I'm tired of being a scapegoat. I'm tired of being used as this example. I train with great players. I'm fit. I'm ready to go. Essentially, taking pop at Ten Hag, and that's, it's not the right way to do it. We've seen it before. I mean, we've seen it hundreds of times in the past. It doesn't end well for the player, and it doesn't look good for Ten Hag. He's meant to be this manager he's come in to revolutionise the club. He has this strict philosophy. It's my way or the highway. But from what we're hearing today, Sancho is going to work with the coaching staff to improve himself. He's publicly outed the man who's in charge, and he's able to work with the coaching staff and essentially get back in the team. Now, this baffles me in many ways. Ten Hag is the leader. If you're at a place of work, you can't disrespect the manager and then just expect everything to be fine and be like, okay, I'll work on myself and get back in. If either kept this quiet, if either kept it in-house, if this had been something that had been discussed behind the scenes, possibly, it could have been worked on. It could have been worked on, but he's made it public. He's come out and bashed the manager, essentially. And yet, there's been no problems. I'm not saying it's all. He might not get back in the team. He may not. It's all speculation at this point. We don't know. But it still doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think on top of that as well, we've also heard that apparently Manchester United were not cleared to disclose Sancho's mental health issues from last season. So there was a 4-month period, I believe it was from October to February, where Sancho just did not feature for the team. And Ten Hag said there were physical and mental factors involved in this. How much of that, which one's more true, we don't know. But it's coming out that apparently the club were not meant to disclose this. And to me, this just seems like it's a PR nightmare. It's all going to come crumbling down. This could have been handled so much better. Ten Hag didn't need to say anything in the first place. Sancho didn't need to retaliate the way he has. There just could have been so many better ways to handle this. If he's not training well, approach him in training and say you need to improve. And then when people come to you and go, why wasn't he involved? Just say, well, we have to. It's just team selection. There's nothing more to it. There's no point doing this, making it public, because you are essentially dragging the player's name through the mud and in return, he's dragging the manager's name through the mud. It does not make sense to me personally. Now, this isn't the first time it's happened at Man United. Obviously, like Schweinsteiger, Di Maria, Jaap Stam in the past, Memphis Depay, David De Gea more recently. There always seems to be unsettled players at Man United, and this is just another example of someone who clearly doesn't fit what they're wanting. Clearly, there's a problem at that club, at the nebulous of Manchester United, that these players just they're not happy. There's always some sort of drama that has to be around the club in regard to. So, it is what it is. Apparently, a Saudi move didn't materialise. There were rumours of it. Nothing seemed to have come up. Whether he's going to remain with the squad, I don't know. Personally, I don't think he's going to play again for United. I think this will be a case of loaned out in January, sold in summer, possibly to the Saudi League, maybe to a different club in England. I could definitely see him going maybe like a Newcastle. That would be, a step in the right direction for him. We need to see how this one plays out. It's still all fairly new and recent, so this is something that we're just going to have to keep our eyes on for the moment. Also, with Manchester United, Antony. Now, I think this is one that I don't really want to talk about too much. It's been reported that he has been, there's an investigation. A lady states that in May 2020, Antony and another woman apparently assaulted her. She required medical attention. This is something that came to light over the past week. He reported to international duty with Brazil. He was dropped from the squad. Manchester United haven't released too much on it. The only thing we have at the moment is that the club are investigating into it, and that the lady who reported the incident is currently giving her testimonies to court, to police. Where this one goes, I don't know. This is something that, very much like the Mason Greenwood one of recently, we just need to keep our eye on, see what happens with it. We don't really have enough information. I don't. It's hard to say anything about this, really. It would be, I think, if this was to happen, it would be damning for Manchester United. 2 players in the space of a year and a half with the same sort of convictions, or attempted, convictions. It's really damaging to the club. You don't want that around. I remember when Liverpool had John Flanagan. It happened with him. I don't believe he was at the club at the time, but it's not something you want around the team, and this is something that we're just gonna have to keep our eye on. I can't really give an opinion on it in terms of whether this has happened or not. We don't have enough information at the moment, so we'll just see where this one goes. I hope it's not. Like I said, for Manchester United, despite rivalries and stuff, we don't want this to be associated with football. So this one, just a quick mention on it, and we'll move on to the next. Next one, Jeff Konopka. Now, this one, it went under the radar a little bit, I think, because I only found out about this through people in work, like who I work with, who support Manchester United. Now, it's been revealed that last year, Jeff Konopka was invited to a Women's Super League game against Everton last season. He was the women's first team manager from 1983 to 2001. And it was in 2011, he was given 4 years in prison for 19 counts of indecent assault and gross indecency against women under 16 years old. Now, the club have issued a statement saying that they were not aware of this, which I personally, I don't believe, if I'm being honest. This was 12 years ago. Someone who's been with your club that long, it's 18 years he was the first team coach of the Women's League. This is something you know about. This is something you hear about. There's no way that the club, after this amount of time, have welcomed them back without knowing this. And this was despite the fact that he's on the active suspension on the FA safeguarding system. So the FA were aware of it. And he was invited back as a special guest. Now, someone... surely, as soon as you say, right, this person's coming back, special guest for this game, it must flag up somewhere, especially if it's in the FA safeguarding system. There's no reason why this should have happened. Obviously, it was a long time ago. the man himself has said, this was over 30 years ago when this has all happened, but you've still done it. It's still happened. So there's no justification for it, really. And I think the fact that he's been invited back as a guest is quite insulting to the families of those people and to the people themselves that were involved. Now, the club have severed all ties to him. They have removed all sources of him from the website. This was because former players complained that he had pictures on the website last summer. Everything's been removed of him. The club have severed all ties with him, essentially. There was no mention of him. So it's good to see that they've gone back and rectified the mistake, but I personally just don't understand how this is something that could have been gotten away with in the first place. If it is just a blunder, fair enough, but it just doesn't seem plausible. And I think we talk about things that could damage the club, and this is one from a long time ago that's resurfacing now, and it just feels like everything's happening in one go. The Greenwood thing, the Anthony thing, Sancho, Jeff Konopka, the Glazers take a failed sale of the club, and it's disappointing. Yeah, I grew up when Manchester United were the dominant force in England. The treble winners, winning 3 leagues in a row, the Champions League winners, the Fergie era, all these world-class players, and they were the dominant force in English football. And it feels like they're being brought down by things that aren't to do with the pitch. And it's sad. It is sad to see, because you don't want to see the big clubs fall like this. I feel sorry for the fans. In a sense, there's just so much stuff, distractions, and how can you focus on the development of the team when all this stuff's going on behind the scenes that's having a big impact on the team and the coaching staff and the owners, and it's got to be a hard thing to go through. So yeah, just wanted to give my thoughts on it. A lot to go through, deep stuff. I'm going to do a video on the failed, air quotes, sale by the Glazers to the Saudis, and that will be coming in the next day or two. So thank you very much for listening. I hope to post another video soon.